Good morning. Thank you for being here on a beautiful day and Super Bowl Sunday. Yeah, right? I know we're all anxious to get to that. I will try not to be long-winded today. Let us call ourselves to worship. Our opening words are by Linda Hart. Every day is a new start, every year a beginning, or so we'd like to believe. And we don't know, can't anticipate where we will go, what will happen, what delights await, what heartbreaks will tear us open, the paths unexpected that will open before us. Even knowing that, we lean our lives in particular ways, focus on particular moments, and incline our attention to what is in our hearts and lives and hands to offer. We know for sure that ours is in the going, finding what is on the path and off, and in giving and creating what we can. We come here amidst the discoveries and delights, the worries and woes, to find a moment, to connection, to pause on the journey, in gratitude and sorrow. It is good to be together.
We now invite you to rise in body or spirit for the chalice lighting, our opening hymn, and our spoken affirmation. Our chalice lighting words come from the Reverend Michelle Collins. Come to this time of worship, worn, weary, or wide awake. In this gathering, we acknowledge the pressure of living. Today, let us embody resilience together, not as armor, but as the soft, sovereign practice of returning to ourselves, to one another, to the work of love. Please join me now in singing our hymn of the month for February, number 146, Soon the Day Will Arrive. In reciting our affirmation, the words are in the order of service and also projected on the screens. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Please be seated. The young and the young in heart are, now invited to come forward for our time for all ages here at the front of the chancel. And do we have young?
They're at the park. Okay, well, that's more exciting than me. So y'all are stuck with the story, okay? So our theme this month is resilience, learning how to continue on through hard times, even when a lot of people think we are powerless and feel we need to give up hope. A long time ago in the land, there was a harsh winter that just would not end. Well, it wasn't this one, because we got, a week of winter and we're done, I think. The rivers were frozen and snow lay deep in the fields and the forest, and the animals and the people grew hungry, and they despaired that winter would never leave. Well, most of them despaired, but Bridget did not. She was a young girl, and she had a type of resilience in her, a fire that would never go out. She thought that she could go out and find the warmth and bring it back to the land. So she set out to challenge the goddess Kolyak, which I never figured out what the proper spelling of that was, so I just made up my own, who was the winter witch and kept the fire to herself. And Bridget had many an adventure as she traveled through the harsh, cold world and into the icy mountains until she finally found Kolyak's cave. In the cave, Kolyak was keeping a small fire and holding it there and would not let the fire warm the land at all. Bridget marched into the cave and said, "I'm here to challenge you for the fire because the warmth must come back to the land. We need spring to return." But Kolyak, being a goddess, just laughed at the idea of a mere girl who was going to challenge her somehow. But Bridget did just what she thought. She had a resilience within her. She had courage and drive, and she knelt down and started talking to the fire, the mere little flame in front of her, till the fire flared up more and more and grew until it started to melt the icy cave around her, and Kolyak was driven back. Bridget then scooped up the fire and carried it with her out of the cave. Wherever Bridget walked, the warmth returned to the land. Rivers started flowing again. The snow in the fields and forests melted away. And from that time forward, Bridget was known as the keeper of the flame, and fires and candles are lit in her name at this time of year. This story reminds us that we can have resilience too, that we can carry forth with courage and hope, and we can get through hard times, even times just like these right now, and that there's a warmer, brighter future coming, and we can embrace it. If you need an affirmation of how important you are and the lovely work you are doing within yourself and within your community, I want you to come up at some point and grab one of these, okay? It's in this little basket, and I'm going to leave it right here. Let's sing ourselves back to our places.
Are we all back? Our offertory words were written by Erica Hewitt. The offering that we take each Sunday isn't just a stale habit. It's an opportunity to recommit to this place and to these people. Our offering is an affirmation, a yes. When we give, we say yes to something we value. With our gifts freely given, may we say yes to the values of our faith. May our offering help us practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation as tools to empower our mission. Our current Share the Plate recipient is the Tarrant Area Food Bank. If you prefer, donations can be made using the QR code that's on the back of the order of service. The offering will now be accepted. Will the ushers please come forward?
You. And I have more of these, so after service, I will refill the basket, and there will be plenty for everybody to take one. Or two, if you have someone who you think would benefit from one. Our reading this morning is from the Reverend Jim Rigby, and he's a pastor at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Austin. His Doing Good Together is compiled by Interfaith Action of Central Texas, or interfaithtexas.org. Religious people certainly have done much damage in the world, and I agree wholeheartedly that humanity would be better off without religious superstition, cruel moralisms, and theocratic clergy. On the other hand, I also believe people are using the word religion meaning different things. Whether we consider ourselves to be religious or not, I believe it is important to find out what people mean by the word religion before we condemn them. Religion can be the excuse some people give to dominate and control others. Or religion can be a sense of calling to serve all of humankind. Religion can be a narcissistic sense of superiority, or religion can be a humble celebration of the web of life. Religion can be the pretending to know the details of the afterlife, or religion can be grieving communities coming together to celebrate a departed friend with songs and poems. When I use the word religion, I am including all the religions of the world. My aspiration is to lift my understanding up to the best insights of world religions and purge myself of humankind's worst ignorance and cruelties. When people say all religion is brainwashing, I wonder if they've studied Buddhist texts like the Kalama Sutta, in which the Buddha says, "Now, Kalamas, don't go by reports, by legends, by traditions, by scriptures, by logical conjecture, by inference, by analogies, by agreement through pondering views, by probability, or by the thought. This contemplative is our teacher." When people say all religion is patriarchal, I wonder if they've ever listened to feminist and womanist religions like Wicca, where the brilliant Starhawk says, "I am a witch, by which I mean that I am somebody who believes that the earth is sacred and that women and women's bodies are one expression of that sacred being." I wonder if they've listened to Christian feminist Rosemary Radford Ruether, who wrote, "Women must see that there can be no liberation for them and no solution to the ecological crisis within a society whose fundamental model of relationships continues to be one of domination. They must unite the demands of the women's movement with those of the ecological movement to envision a radical reshaping of the basic socioeconomic relations and the underlying values of this modern industrial society." When people say that all religion is about control, I wonder if they've ever listened to the liberation theologies of Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Dorothy Day, Gustavo Gutierrez, who wrote, "The denunciation of injustice implies the rejection of the use of Christianity to legitimize the established order," and liberation from every form of exploitation, the possibility of a more human and dignified life, the creation of a new humankind, all pass through this struggle. And I wonder if they've ever listened to Bishop Oscar Romero, who preached a Christmas sermon saying, "We must not seek the child Jesus in the pretty figures of our Christmas cribs. We must seek him among the undernourished children who have gone to bed at night with nothing to eat, among the poor newsboys who will sleep covered with newspapers in doorways." When people say all clergy are money-seeking bullies, I wonder if they've ever really thought about the fact that Mr. Rogers was a Presbyterian minister. Whether religion is good or bad for humanity is a living question. But until we can stop talking about religion without even defining what we each mean by that term, we will be ships passing in the night. I wonder what would happen if religious and non-religious people listened respectfully to each other. What if we all strove to reject whatever is ignorant, sectarian, or cruel, and to honor whatever is good, true, and beautiful? Will you rise in body or spirit and join us in hymn number 145, As Tranquil Streams? At this time in our service, we pause to honor and to give time and attention to those things most important to us. We gather here for healing and for peace in our hearts and in the world, and honor our time together with the shared stories and news from the congregation. Each week there is a journal outside the entrance to the sanctuary where you can write a message of memory or hope. We honor these messages by lighting the 3 candles here next to our chalice. Also, at any time during our service, you're welcome to come forward and light a candle in our meditation center here next to the chancel. Today, from our book of memory and hope. It's a little mixed bag this morning, so let's be patient. Julie Hevelone writes, in this time of moral crisis, our faith calls us to live out our values through courageous and prophetic action. The Unitarian Universalist Association, the UUA, the Texas UU Justice Ministry, and the Justice Network of Tarrant County continue to provide opportunities for social justice action, big and small, locally, statewide, and nationally. APC is currently participating with UUs across the country in the UU Ice Out Call Blitz. This is a coordinated effort to create an unbroken chain of calls to key members of Congress about the violent actions of ICE every 3 minutes during the weeks of February 2nd and February 9th. I hope you will consider this as you join in our ICE Call Blitz on Friday, February 13th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's a 1-hour time slot. This is just one way, a very important way, to provide support to our greater human community during this time of crisis. And it offers up a way for us to engage in an activity that allows us to maintain a sense of control while we live our values out loud. If you're interested in participating, please sign up today and see Julie Hevelone over there waving her hand behind the desk. Registration is open for the NTUC party to be held here at All People's Church, UU. This is a really important celebration. So this is a wonderful thing for the life of the church. It will be Saturday, March 28th, and the event promises fellowship, good food, and entertainment. It will be from 2:30 to 6:30 p.m. And if you have any questions, please see Michael Zapata, who is waving his arms in the back. Lori McKitka writes, I have been having some issues with dizziness and breathlessness. Saw my cardiologist and I needed a pacemaker. The surgery was Wednesday and I'm now feeling great. And we are so glad. So glad. The enemy of empathy is fear. I believe every human possesses the strength to fight the fear within. Greg Robertson. Thoughts and prayers for Jamie and Steve. Steve is having some lung issues and Jamie is taking care of him. He will be okay, but thoughts and prayers their way. Okay. With these and other joys and concerns that we keep strictly on our hearts, let's get into a comfortable posture in our chairs. Our feet flat on the floor, our hands maybe laying on our lap, uplifted or face down. Close our eyes. Let's think of one person that has brought us some joy this past week. Just think to yourself, picture them in your mind, and think of what they did and how it made you feel. Give yourself just a minute to bring a full visualization of that into your mind. Let that good feeling move through your body as if it's happening all over again. Now I want you to move just a little bit in your chair. Move to a different space. Move to a space and think about one person that you did that very same thing for this past week. Maybe it was someone that you just sat and listened as they talked about something in their lives that was important. Maybe it was someone who was celebrating after a long, long period of things just going really wrong. And now things are going right. And you listened and you joined them in their joy, just as you had joined them in their sorrow. Visualize that person. And let that feeling flow through your body. Now again, shift in your chair. Clear your mind again. And as we move into our time of quiet meditation, I'd like for you to think of someone in the future, next week, tomorrow, maybe even this afternoon, that you will sit with and share your joy or sorrow or their joy or sorrow. Let us now pause for a few moments of quiet meditation to hold and uplift those sorrows and celebrations. And then Misha will lift our hearts with music. So I'm getting ready to talk about who my people are and who your people are. All of our people. Because everyone is our people. And I know every one of us has seen the picture. Little precious 5-year-old wearing a blue knit hat with bunny rabbit ears. He has a small red and black Spider-Man backpack over his blue flannel jacket, and he's being instructed by a man in uniform to get into a black snow and ice-covered vehicle. The expression on his face is one of sheer terror. Liam Ramos, a 5-year-old walking home from school, arrested and taken into custody by ICE, faces deportation. 5 years old and arrested. Just imagine that. None of us knows how this will turn out, but what I pray for most, given what this and so many other children have experienced, is that they learn to be resilient enough to retain their humanity as they navigate this terrifying and brutal path. Brené Brown, in her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, writes, resilience, the ability to overcome adversity, has been a growing topic of study since the early 1970s. In a world plagued by stress and struggle, everyone from psychologists and psychiatrists and social workers to clergy and criminal justice researchers want to know why and how some folks are better at bouncing back from hardships than others. We want to understand why some people can cope with stress and trauma in a way that allows them to move forward in their lives, and why other people appear more affected and stuck. As I collected and analyzed the data, I recognized that many of the people I interviewed were describing stories of resilience. I heard stories about people cultivating wholehearted lives despite adversity, I learned about people's capacities to stay mindful and authentic under great stress and anxiety. And I heard people describe how they were able to transform trauma into wholehearted thriving. At first, Brene writes, I'd hoped the patterns I observed in my research would lead to a very straightforward conclusion that resilience is a core component of wholeheartedness, just like the other guidepost. But there was something more to what I was hearing. The stories had more in common than just resilience. All of the stories were about spirit. According to the people she interviewed, the very foundation of the protective factors, the things that gave them their ability to remain hopeful, was their spirituality. Brown says here that she doesn't mean religion or theology, but a shared and deeply held belief. Based on the interviews, here's how she defines spirituality. Spirituality is recognizing and celebrating that we are all inextricably connected to each other by a power greater than all of us, and that our connection to that power and to one another is grounded in love and compassion. Practicing spirituality brings a sense of perspective, meaning, and purpose to our lives. Without exception, spirituality, the belief in connection and power greater than self, and interconnection grounded in love and compassion emerged as a large component of resilience. All of the people in the study, though each coming from completely different backgrounds and situations, shared a foundation of spirituality. The story for all ages earlier really hits as our Cups chapter celebrated Imbolc this past week, midwinter, the time when the coldest, darkest days of winter are behind us, and we become hopeful for the warm weather ahead. A renewed sense of hope after a week of ice and snow that kept us from venturing out any further than necessary. Did any of you look out each day, wondering when or if the sun would return to thaw our streets and our faces? I did. And as I inspected some of our more sensitive plants, I was so surprised to find 2 beautiful little red flowers budding on the pomegranate tree. But that wasn't all. Daffodils were sending their long leaves up, searching for the sun just as I was. And just as they were able to shake off the ice and snow and get back to the business of living, so can we. That's resilience. That's the story of Imbolc and Bridgen and you and me, and I pray every day it will be the story of little Liam too. In 1854, Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote to his daughter saying, "You must finish every day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as fast as you can. Tomorrow is a new day, and you shall begin it well and serenely. It is too dear with its hopes and invitations to waste a moment on the rotten yesterdays." I don't know what was happening in her life that prompted her father to send a letter of understanding and encouragement, but I can imagine that those words lifted her spirits and gave her the strength and courage to continue creating a life for herself. And who knows, maybe she did the same for someone else at some point in her life. Maybe telling the story of her own hardship helped someone get through their own. I saw a movie recently called The Swimmers. Anyone else seen that? on Netflix. Watch it, for sure. It is the true story about two Syrian sisters who fled war-torn Damascus and follows their dangerous journey across the Aegean Sea, where they literally had to swim and pull their boat physically filled with refugees like themselves to safety in Greece. Their father had envisioned their futures as Olympic swimmers, sending them with all the money the family had in order to give them a chance at life and their dreams, his dreams. And when they arrived in Germany, one sister, Sarah, realized that her destiny wasn't the Olympics, but her heart was leading her to help other refugees escape safely. I remember becoming so emotional as Yusra, the other sister, was begging Sarah to stay and compete on the refugee Olympic team with her. "Stay and do this for your people," Yusra said. Sarah replies with, "These are my people." Yusra goes on to medal in the 2016 Rio Olympics, and Sarah spends the next many years helping refugees cross borders and bodies of water to reach safety. It reminded me of the lines by Rosemary Watala Traumer. "My heart, a cottonwood seed, landed on rock instead of soil. Love says, time to trust the wind." We don't know what hurdles or troubles we will be expected to overcome in our lives. What we do know is that we control how we face those hard times. In my monthly message, I spoke of a new term I heard recently, soft courage. The article said that in harsh times, choosing kindness and empathy is a form of bravery, often referred to as soft courage. And we can do this as an outward symbol of our power to create change. Marcus Aurelius, last of the Roman rulers, known as the Five Good Emperors, and the last emperor of the Pax Romana, wrote in Meditations that we cannot let inhumanity make us inhuman. We have to protect the goodness inside of us and not be made cruel and awful by cruel and awful times. He said not to let them corrupt you and turn you into them. Wise words from 2,000 years ago that are incredibly relevant today. Remaining gently human in inhumane times requires holding on to an ethical code, avoiding the tendency to mirror the brutality or cruelty of the environment, and reminds us that personal resilience is connected to community resilience. By strengthening oneself, individuals can better support others, creating a ripple effect that fosters a more compassionate society. I think we're given so many ways to embody resilience and model it for others. But we have to remember that resilience isn't toughness, but gentleness that refuses to give up. I want to live long enough to see Liam be the keeper of the flame in the way Bridget was, in the way Sarah is. Even from her prison cell, she continues to trust the wind. And all the ways that these incredibly brave and resilient students who are staging walkouts in protest of the inhumane treatment of ICE are. Keepers of the flame who model resilience and support others as they fan the flames of justice higher so that there are no shadows left for injustice to hide. Tomorrow is a new day, and it is too dear with its hopes and invitations to wait a single moment. Let love and compassion and the connectedness of our spirit, give us the soft courage and renewed hope to be what the world, what our people need us to be. Blessed be. Will you rise in body or spirit and join us in the closing hymn, number 311, Let It Be a Dance.
Our chalice extinguishing words are from the Reverend Michelle Collins. The flame is gone, but the heat lingers. Carry that warmth into the uncertain hours ahead. Soft, persistent, alive. Beneath whatever the world may bring.
I want to thank Marianne for the throat lozenge. I really appreciate it. Got some stuff going on. Go be the flame in the chalice. Go be the power that gives hope. Go be. Service has now ended. We invite you to stay for coffee and conversation in the library at the rear of the sanctuary. I hope your week is one of beauty for yourself and for others.